Marcus Chen limped through the automatic doors of the Centauri Medical Complex, his left arm hanging at an impossible angle while his right hand pressed against his ribs. Each step sent lightning bolts of pain through his shattered leg, but he refused the hover stretcher that two concerned Altarian nurses tried to guide him toward. "I can walk," he said through gritted teeth, leaving a small trail of crimson droplets on the pristine white floor. The nurses exchanged glances, their large, luminescent eyes widening in what Marcus had learned to recognize as alien confusion. The waiting area fell silent as Marcus made his way to the reception desk. Dozens of different species turned to stare at the human who walked despite obvious injuries that would have left most of them unconscious. A Zephyrian merchant's tentacles twitched nervously while a crystalline lithoid's body pulsed with concerned blue light. Behind the curved reception desk sat Dr. Cathara, a tall vegan whose silver skin shimmered under the medical facility's soft lighting. Her forearms moved gracefully across multiple holographic displays as she processed incoming patients. When she looked up and saw Marcus approaching, her elongated features showed surprise. "Human Marcus Chen," she said, her voice carrying the melodic quality typical of her species. "Your biometric readings are concerning. Please allow our staff to assist you to a treatment bay immediately." Marcus shook his head, wincing as the movement jarred his injured neck. "I need to check in first." "Standard procedure." Dr. Cathara's large violet eyes blinked slowly. In the 3 years since humans had joined the Galactic Medical Consortium, she had treated dozens of human patients. Each time, she was amazed by their stubborn refusal to acknowledge the severity of their injuries. But this was extreme, even by human standards. "Mr. Chen, my scanners indicate 17 distinct fractures, internal bleeding, and a concussion. You require immediate medical attention." 17? Marcus asked, then shrugged with his good shoulder. "Could be worse. What's the wait time?" The reception area buzzed with whispered conversations in various alien languages. A young Altarian medical student named Zintel approached Dr. Cathara and spoke in rapid, concerned chirps. The doctor nodded and gestured for the student to observe. "This is an excellent learning opportunity," Dr. Cathara told Zintel in Galactic Standard. "Humans possess remarkable pain tolerance and an unusual psychological response to injury. Note how the subject maintains mobility despite severe skeletal damage." Marcus caught enough of the conversation to understand he was being discussed like a medical curiosity. He had grown accustomed to this treatment over the past year since he'd started working in the Outer Rim systems. Humans were still relatively new to the galactic community, and their physical and mental resilience often surprised other species. "If you're done talking about me," Marcus said, "I'd appreciate getting this taken care of. I have a cargo run to complete." Dr. Cathara's expression shifted to what Marcus recognized as the alien equivalent of disbelief. "Mr. Chen, you will not be cleared for duty for several weeks, minimum. These injuries require extensive treatment and recovery time." "We'll see about that," Marcus replied, finally, accepting a chair that a helpful Centauri orderly brought over. Even sitting down, he maintained perfect posture, despite the obvious pain it caused. As they waited for a treatment bay to become available, other patients and medical staff continued to steal glances at the injured human. Word spread quickly through the medical complex about the human who walked in with 17 fractures and refused a stretcher. Dr. Vexnar, the hospital's chief surgeon, emerged from one of the treatment bays. The elderly mantoid's compound eyes fixed on Marcus immediately. He approached on his 6 legs, his chitinous exoskeleton clicking softly against the floor. "So this is the human everyone is discussing," Dr. Vexnar said, his mandibles clicking in what passed for amusement among his species. "Remarkable. In my 400 years of practice, I have never seen a patient with such severe injuries remain conscious, let alone ambulatory." Marcus looked up at the towering insectoid doctor. "Are you going to fix me up, or are you here to add to the circus?" Dr. Vexnar's antennae twitched with what Marcus had learned indicated respect among mantoids. "Direct communication. I approve. Yes, I will be overseeing your treatment personally. Your case presents several interesting challenges." "Challenges?" Marcus asked.
Human physiology is still being studied by our medical community.
While we have basic treatment protocols, your species' unique healing abilities and pain tolerance require specialized approaches. Additionally, your bone density and muscle fiber composition differ significantly from most galactic species.
A soft chime indicated that treatment Bay 7 was ready. Dr. Kethara gestured toward the indicated corridor. Mr. Chen, if you would please.
Marcus stood slowly, declining the offered assistance from two orderlies. Each movement was clearly painful, but his expression remained stoic. As he walked toward the treatment bay, other patients and staff parted to let him pass, many filming the unusual sight with their various recording devices. Inside the treatment bay, Marcus finally allowed himself to be helped onto the examination table. The room was designed to accommodate multiple species, with adjustable gravity fields, atmospheric controls, and various medical equipment that could adapt to different physiologies.
Dr.
VexNAR activated the room's medical scanners, and holographic displays lit up around Marcus, showing detailed images of his injuries. The damage was extensive: fractured ribs, a broken ulna and radius in his left arm, hairline fractures in his skull, a cracked femur, and numerous other smaller breaks and fractures throughout his body.
How did this happen?
Dr. Kethara asked as she reviewed the scans. Marcus was quiet for a moment, his jaw tight. Cargo container broke loose during a gravity storm near Kepler 442.
30 tons of refined lithium ore. Had to keep it from crushing my co-pilot.
Dr. VexNAR's compound eyes fixed on Marcus.
You deliberately placed yourself between falling cargo and another individual?
She's got 2 kids waiting for her back on Proxima Colony, Marcus said simply.
Seemed like the right thing to do.
The medical team exchanged glances. This was classic human behavior according to the psychological profiles they had studied. Humans regularly risked their own safety for others, often with little regard for the consequences to themselves. Dr. Kethara began preparing the bone regeneration chamber while Dr. VexNAR reviewed the treatment options.
Mr. Chen, the standard protocol would be to place you in medical stasis while we repair the bone damage. This typically takes 72 hours for injuries of this severity.
No stasis, Marcus said firmly.
I need to stay conscious. That is not advisable.
The pain would be considerable, even with our most advanced pain management systems.
Marcus looked directly at Dr. VexNAR.
Doctor, I appreciate your concern, but I've been through worse.
Do what you need to do, but keep me awake.
Dr. VexNAR's mandibles clicked rapidly as he considered this request. In his centuries of practice, no patient had ever requested to remain conscious during major bone reconstruction. The pain would be excruciating for most species. Very well, he said finally. But I reserve the right to override your wishes if your vital signs become dangerously unstable. As the medical team began preparing for the procedures, word of the unusual patient spread throughout the hospital. Medical staff from other departments found excuses to pass by treatment bay 7, hoping to catch a glimpse of the human who refused standard pain management protocols.
Dr. Zarayath, a renowned xenobiologist from the University of New Geneva, happened to be visiting the hospital for a research project.
When she heard about Marcus, she immediately requested permission to observe the treatment. Dr. VexNAR, she said as she entered the treatment bay, I hope you don't mind my intrusion, but this case could provide valuable insights into human pain tolerance and healing capabilities. Marcus looked at the newcomer, a tall, graceful being with translucent skin and bioluminescent patches that pulsed with her heartbeat.
More observers. Great. Should I sell tickets?
Dr. Zarath's luminescent patches flickered in a pattern that indicated amusement.
Your humor in the face of severe trauma is fascinating.
Most species become increasingly withdrawn and focused inward when experiencing significant pain. Pain is just information, Marcus said as Dr. Kethara began inserting monitoring devices. It tells you something's wrong, but it doesn't have to control you. The treatment team finished their preparations and activated the bone regeneration system. Energy fields surrounded Marcus's body, targeting the fractured bones with precisely calibrated healing frequencies.
For most species, this process would require deep sedation due to the intense sensations caused by accelerated bone growth.
Marcus gripped the sides of the examination table as the treatment began. His knuckles went white and sweat beaded on his forehead, but he made no sound. His breathing deepened and became more controlled, a meditation technique he had learned during his military service. Dr. Vexnar monitored Marcus's vital signs closely.
Heart rate elevated but stable.
Neural activity indicates significant pain response, but cognitive functions remain normal.
Remarkable.
As the first hour of treatment progressed, more medical personnel found reasons to visit Treatment Bay 7. The sight of a human enduring major medical procedures while fully conscious became the talk of the entire medical complex. Marcus noticed the attention but said nothing. He focused on breathing and maintaining his composure, even as the bone regeneration process sent waves of intense sensation through his body.
To the alien observers, his stoic endurance was almost incomprehensible. Dr. Kethara checked his progress after the first treatment cycle.
The bone healing is proceeding normally, but, Mr. Chen, your stress hormone levels are remarkably low for someone undergoing this procedure. Stress doesn't help anything, Marcus replied, his voice steady despite the obvious strain.
Just makes everything worse.
Dr. Zaraeth leaned forward, her bioluminescent patches pulsing with excitement.
This is extraordinary.
Most species show significant psychological distress during painful medical procedures.
Humans seem to possess an unusual ability to compartmentalize physical discomfort.
It's not that we don't feel it, Marcus explained, pausing as another wave of intense sensation passed through his healing bones.
We just don't let it be in charge.
The second treatment cycle began, focusing on the more severe fractures in his leg and ribs.
This time, even Marcus couldn't completely hide his discomfort.
His jaw clenched tighter and his breathing became more labored, but he still refused any additional pain management.
A crowd had gathered outside Treatment Bay 7.
Medical students, researchers, and staff from throughout the hospital watched through the observation window as the human endured what should have been an unbearable procedure. Among the observers was Captain Reltar of the Galactic Medical Corps, a veteran military surgeon who had treated combat injuries across dozens of species. He watched Marcus with professional interest and growing respect. In 50 years of battlefield medicine, he told his aide, I have never seen anything like this. The human's pain threshold appears to be significantly higher than our medical databases indicate.
As the treatment continued into the third hour, Marcus finally showed signs of fatigue.
His hands trembled slightly and sweat soaked through his shirt, but his resolve never wavered. He answered questions from the medical team in clear, coherent sentences and even managed to joke with the nurses. Dr. Vexnar completed the major bone reconstruction and began working on the smaller fractures. Mr. Chen, we are nearly finished with the primary repairs. Your bone density is actually increasing beyond normal human parameters during the healing process.
Good genes, Marcus said, managing a weak smile.
My grandfather walked away from a shuttle crash on Titan with worse injuries than this. The comments sparked interest among the xenobiologists present. Human genetic adaptability and their species' apparent evolution toward greater physical resilience had been subjects of considerable scientific debate. As the final treatment cycle concluded, Marcus had endured over 4 hours of intensive medical procedures without sedation or significant pain management. The alien medical team was astounded, and word of his endurance had spread throughout the entire medical complex. Dr. Vexnar deactivated the bone regeneration system and ran final scans.
Extraordinary. All fractures have been successfully repaired, and the bone matrix appears stronger than before the injuries occurred.
Marcus slowly sat up on the examination table, testing his movements carefully. The pain was gone, replaced by a strange tingling sensation as his body adjusted to the rapidly healed bones.
When can I get back to work? He asked. The entire medical team stared at him in amazement. After what he had just endured, most patients would require days of rest and psychological recovery.
Marcus was already thinking about returning to his duties.
Dr. Kethara checked her readings again.
Physically, you could be cleared for limited duty within hours.
However, I strongly recommend at least 24 hours of observation.
I'll take the limited duty clearance, Marcus said, sliding off the examination table and testing his weight on his formerly broken leg.
My ship needs to reach the Vega system by tomorrow.
As Marcus prepared to leave, Captain Reltar approached him.
Human, I would be honored if you would allow me to document your case for the Galactic Medical Corps.
Your demonstration today has significant implications for battlefield medicine.
Marcus nodded.
Sure, if it helps other people, I'm fine with that. As he walked out of Treatment Bay 7, the crowd of observers parted respectfully. The human who had entered with 17 fractures was leaving under his own power, having refused to compromise his dignity or strength despite extraordinary circumstances.
Dr. Zarabeth turned to Dr. Vex and AR as they watched Marcus disappear down the corridor.
This changes our understanding of human psychology and physiology considerably. Dr. Vex and AR's mandibles clicked in agreement.
Indeed.
And I suspect this human story is far from over. Marcus stepped out of the medical complex and into the bustling streets of Centauri Station. The artificial gravity felt strange after hours of medical treatment, but he welcomed the sensation of normal movement. His bones felt stronger than before, an odd side effect of the alien medical technology that he decided not to question. The comm device on his wrist buzzed with an incoming message from his co-pilot, Sarah Martinez. Her face appeared in the small holographic display, concern evident in her brown eyes.
Marcus.
I heard what happened.
Are you okay?
The dock workers said you were hurt pretty bad when they pulled you out of the cargo bay.
I'm fine, Sarah. Just finished at the hospital.
How's the ship?
Sarah's expression shifted from concern to disbelief. You're already out of the hospital?
Marcus, I saw what that container did to you.
There's no way you should be walking around right now.
Alien medicine is pretty impressive, Marcus replied, flexing his formerly broken arm to demonstrate.
Speaking of which, how's the cargo situation? The lithium ore is secure, and I've filed all the incident reports.
But, Marcus, you shouldn't have. Her voice trailed off, and Marcus could see tears forming in her eyes.
You could have been killed. But I wasn't, and neither were you. That's what matters.
As they talked, Marcus noticed several aliens on the street pointing at him and speaking in hushed tones. Word of his hospital visit had apparently spread beyond the medical complex.
A young Centauri approached him hesitantly.
Excuse me, are you the human from the hospital? The alien asked in accented galactic standard.
The one who refused the pain medicine? Marcus sighed. Yes, that's me. The Centauri's iridescent skin shifted to a respectful blue color.
My father is a doctor, and he says what you did was impossible.
He wants to study human pain tolerance for his research.
Tell your father I'm flattered, but I have a schedule to keep.
Sarah's voice came through the comm again. Marcus, what's that about? What happened at the hospital? Nothing important. I'll explain later.
Is the ship ready for departure? Well, yes, but the Galactic Freight Authority wants to conduct an investigation. They're sending an inspector to review the accident.
Marcus frowned.
Investigations meant delays, and delays meant missed delivery deadlines. In the competitive freight business, a damaged reputation could end a career quickly.
How long will that take? The inspector arrives tomorrow morning. We're grounded until then.
Marcus noticed more aliens gathering nearby, their conversations growing louder. Some were recording him with various devices, while others simply stared in fascination. The attention was becoming uncomfortable.
I'll be back at the ship in an hour, he told Sarah. Try to expedite that inspection if you can.
As Marcus made his way through the station, the crowd following him grew larger. Aliens of all species seemed drawn to catch a glimpse of the human who had become local legend in just a few hours. He overheard fragments of conversations in multiple languages, most centered around disbelief at his rapid recovery. At a transport hub, Marcus was approached by a well-dressed vegan wearing the insignia of a galactic news network. The alien's silver skin gleamed under the station's lighting as she activated a recording device.
Mr. Chen, I'm Velana Chris from Galactic News Network. Could I have a moment of your time? Marcus kept walking. I'm not interested in interviews.
Sir, your story is spreading across the sector. The human who walked into an alien hospital with 17 fractures and refused standard medical protocols.
People are calling it impossible. People say a lot of things.
Velana kept pace with him, her forearms managing multiple recording devices.
Mr. Chen, humans have been part of the galactic community for only 3 years. Incidents like this help other species understand your people better. Don't you think that's important?
Marcus stopped and turned to face her. Around them, dozens of aliens had gathered to watch the impromptu interview.
Look, I'm not a representative of humanity. I'm just a freight hauler trying to do his job.
But, sir, your actions today demonstrate remarkable courage and resilience. You saved your co-pilot's life at considerable risk to yourself, then endured medical treatment that would incapacitate most species.
How do you explain this?
Marcus was quiet for a moment, considering his words carefully. The crowd pressed closer, eager to hear his response. I don't think what I did was particularly special, he said finally.
Any decent person would have protected their friend. As for the medical stuff, pain is temporary. Letting fear control you lasts forever. Velana's skin shimmered with excitement. So you're saying this is normal human behavior? I'm saying it's normal decent behavior. Species doesn't matter. The interview was interrupted by the arrival of security personnel.
A tall mantoid officer approached, his compound eyes scanning the growing crowd.
Mr. Chen, I'm Officer Claxter. The station administrator requests your presence for an incident debriefing. Marcus nodded to the officer. Lead the way. As they walked toward the administrative section, Officer Claxter spoke in low tones.
Sir, your hospital visit has created quite a stir. The medical complex has had to implement crowd control measures.
I didn't ask for any of this attention. Nevertheless, you have it. The administrator wants to discuss the implications.
The administrative offices were located in the station's central hub, a gleaming complex of interconnected buildings that housed the bureaucratic machinery of galactic commerce. They entered a conference room where several officials waited. Station Administrator Zethkol, a massive lithoid whose crystalline body pulsed with soft light, gestured for Marcus to sit. Around the table sat representatives from various galactic organizations, the Freight Authority, Medical Consortium, and Communications Commission. Mr. Chen, Administrator Zethkol began, his voice resonating through his crystal matrix, your actions today have created an unprecedented situation.
How so?
Dr. Velthara from the Medical Consortium, a graceful Altarian, leaned forward.
Mr. Chen, the medical procedures you endured today are being studied by xenobiologists across the sector.
Your pain tolerance and healing response are far beyond our established parameters for human physiology.
Maybe your parameters are wrong.
Commissioner Raydell from the Communications Commission, a thin Zephyrian, gestured with his tentacles.
The media attention surrounding your case is significant.
We've received requests for interviews from 47 news organizations across 12 sectors. Marcus rubbed his temples. I just want to complete my cargo run and get paid.
Administrator Zethkol's crystal body brightened.
Mr. Chen, we understand your desire for privacy, but consider the larger implications.
Humanity is still establishing its place in the galactic community.
Your demonstration of human resilience and character could have profound diplomatic benefits.
I'm not a diplomat.
Perhaps not, said Dr. Velthara, but you are an excellent ambassador for your species.
The medical data from your treatment could advance xenobiological research significantly. With your permission, we would like to share this information with research institutions.
Marcus considered the request. He had never wanted to be a public figure, but he understood the potential benefits. If his experience could help other humans receive better medical care, it seemed worthwhile. Fine, but I want any profits from the research to go toward improving medical facilities in human colonies. The officials exchanged glances. This was not the response they had expected. Commissioner Raydell's tentacles writhed with apparent confusion.
Mr. Chen, you could license this information for considerable personal profit.
Why direct the proceeds elsewhere?
Because the colonies need better medical facilities more than I need money.
Administrator Zethkole's crystal body pulsed with what Marcus had learned indicated respect among lithoids.
This is consistent with human behavioral patterns we have observed. Your species demonstrates unusual levels of altruistic behavior.
The meeting continued for another hour, with various officials discussing the implications of Marcus's case. Media protocols, medical research permissions, and diplomatic considerations were all addressed. Throughout the discussions, Marcus remained focused on practical concerns: when could he complete his delivery, and when could he return to normal operations? When the meeting finally concluded, Marcus was escorted back to the docking bay where his ship, the Aurora's Dream, waited. The vessel was a mid-range cargo hauler, sturdy and reliable rather than elegant. Sarah was waiting at the cargo bay entrance, her relief visible when she saw him approaching. "How do you feel?" she asked, studying his face for signs of pain or fatigue.
"Better than I did this morning."
"How's the cargo?"
"Secure and ready for transport."
"But, Marcus, we need to talk about what happened." They entered the ship's common area, a small but comfortable space that served as kitchen, dining room, and recreation area during long hauls.
Sarah poured coffee from the automated dispenser and settled into one of the worn chairs.
"You saved my life today," she said without preamble. "But, you nearly got yourself killed doing it."
Marcus accepted the coffee gratefully. "Sarah, we've been partners for 2 years. Do you really think I would have done anything different?" "That's exactly my point. You always put everyone else first, even when it's dangerous."
"Someone has to."
Sarah shook her head.
"Marcus, you're not responsible for everyone in the galaxy.
You can't protect everyone. I can protect the people I care about."
Their conversation was interrupted by a chime from the ship's communication system.
Sarah activated the display, revealing Dr. Vex Nar from the medical complex.
"Mr. Chen, I apologize for the intrusion, but we have encountered an unusual situation."
Marcus set down his coffee. "What kind of situation?"
"Your medical case has attracted attention from the Galactic Health Organization. They are sending a research team to study your healing process. However, there have also been requests from several military organizations interested in human resilience capabilities."
"Military organizations?"
Dr. Vex Nar's mandibles clicked nervously.
"The Terran Defense Force, the Centauri Fleet, and the Vegan Medical Corps have all expressed interest in conducting studies. There are also informal inquiries from less official sources."
Marcus and Sarah exchanged glances.
Military interest could complicate their lives significantly.
"Dr. Vex Nar, I appreciate the information, but I'm not interested in becoming a test subject." "I understand, Mr. Chen, but the attention may persist regardless of your preferences. I wanted to warn you that there may be additional scrutiny of your activities."
After the call ended, Sarah looked at Marcus with concern. "This is getting complicated fast."
"Yeah, it is."
Marcus walked to the ship's observation deck, a small area with reinforced windows that looked out onto the docking bay.
Through the transparent aluminum, he could see several aliens standing near their ship, some clearly recording while others simply observed. "Marcus," Sarah said, joining him at the window, "maybe we should consider taking a break. Let this attention die down before we take another cargo run."
"Can't do that, Sarah.
We have a reputation to maintain, and bills to pay."
"Our reputation is already made.
What you did today will be remembered long after people forget whether we delivered cargo on time." Marcus watched the aliens outside, noting their various species and the technology they carried. Some were clearly media representatives, while others appeared to be researchers or simply curious observers.
"I didn't ask for this," he said quietly.
"No, but it's what we have to deal with now."
A new group of aliens approached their ship, these wearing the uniforms of the Galactic Freight Authority. The leader, a tall Centauri with official insignia, activated a portable communication device. "Mr. Chen, this is Inspector Zaramin.
I need to speak with you regarding your cargo incident." Marcus activated the ship's external communication system.
"I'll be right out, Inspector."
As he prepared to leave the ship, Sarah caught his arm. "Marcus, whatever happens with this investigation, remember that you did the right thing today.
Don't let anyone make you think otherwise." "I know."
Marcus left the ship to meet with the inspector, unaware that his actions that day had set in motion events that would change not only his life, but the relationship between humanity and the galactic community. The human who had walked into an alien hospital with 17 fractures was about to discover that sometimes doing the right thing has consequences far beyond what anyone could anticipate. The crowd of observers watched as Marcus approached Inspector Zaramin, their recording devices capturing every moment.
To them, he was no longer just a freight hauler who had been injured in an accident.
He had become a symbol of human determination and resilience, a living example of what their species could endure and overcome. But, for Marcus, he was still just a man trying to do his job and take care of the people he cared about. The fact that this simple philosophy had captivated an entire sector of the galaxy was something he was still trying to understand.
Inspector Zaramin was unlike any Centauri Marcus had encountered before.
Where most of her species displayed the characteristic iridescent skin that shifted colors with emotion, hers remained a steady, professional silver blue. Her movements were precise and economical, suggesting military training.
"Mr. Chen, I've reviewed the preliminary reports of your cargo accident.
I need to conduct a thorough investigation before I can clear your vessel for departure."
Marcus nodded. "I understand. What do you need from me?"
"A complete walkthrough of the incident, examination of the cargo bay, and review of your safety protocols. However, I must say, your medical records from today are unusual." The crowd of observers had grown larger, with aliens positioning themselves to record the investigation. Marcus noticed several news crews setting up more sophisticated equipment, turning the routine inspection into a public spectacle.
"Inspector, could we conduct this investigation privately? This attention is making my crew uncomfortable."
Inspector Zaramin looked around at the gathered crowd, her skin tone shifting slightly toward a more orange hue that indicated annoyance among Centaurians.
"Unfortunately, Mr. Chen, this case has attracted significant attention from multiple galactic organizations.
The investigation must be conducted according to standard protocols, which include transparency requirements." Sarah emerged from the ship, carrying a tablet with the incident reports. "Inspector Zaramin, I have the cargo manifests and safety logs you requested." As they moved toward the cargo bay, Marcus noticed a familiar figure among the observers. Dr. Zaraev, the xenobiologist from the hospital, stood near a group of researchers, her bioluminescent patches pulsing with obvious excitement. The cargo bay showed clear evidence of the accident. Twisted metal restraints, damaged flooring, and scuff marks told the story of 30 tons of lithium ore breaking free during the gravity storm. Inspector Zaramin examined everything methodically, taking detailed scans and recordings. "Mr. Chen, according to the sensor logs, you had approximately 4 seconds between when the cargo restraints failed and when the container would have struck Ms. Martinez.
Can you explain your actions during those 4 seconds?" Marcus pointed to the damaged section of the bay. The container was falling towards Sarah's position at the control panel.
"I pushed her clear and tried to redirect the container's fall."
"By placing yourself in its path?" "By using the emergency cargo poles to create a deflection point. I didn't plan to get caught under it."
Inspector Zaramin's skin shifted to a pale yellow, indicating surprise.
"You attempted to redirect 30 tons of falling cargo with manual equipment?"
"It seemed like a better option than letting it crush my co-pilot."
Sarah looked at Marcus with a mixture of admiration and exasperation. "He doesn't mention that the emergency poles aren't rated for that kind of weight."
"The rating assumes normal gravity," Marcus replied.
"During the storm, we were experiencing variable gravity fields.
I thought I could use the fluctuations to help."
Inspector Zaraman made detailed notes on her tablet.
Mr. Chen, what you attempted was technically impossible according to standard physics calculations.
I know.
But, technically impossible and actually impossible are two different things.
The inspection continued for 2 hours, with Inspector Zaraman documenting every aspect of the accident and its aftermath.
The crowd of observers remained throughout, recording everything and providing commentary in multiple alien languages. Dr. Zarayath approached during a break in the inspection. Mr. Chen, I hope you don't mind my presence, but your case presents fascinating questions about human psychology and decision-making under extreme stress. Doctor, no offense, but I'm getting tired of being treated like a specimen. I understand your frustration, but consider the broader implications. Your actions today demonstrate cognitive processes that are remarkable among known species. Most beings facing immediate mortal danger experience cognitive shutdown or panic responses. You maintain rational problem-solving capabilities while accepting certain harm to yourself. Marcus looked at the xenobiologist with tired eyes.
Doctor, I just did what needed to be done. If that's remarkable to you, maybe you need to spend more time around humans.
Dr. Zarayath's bioluminescent patches flashed in a pattern Marcus didn't recognize.
That statement itself is fascinating.
You consider your behavior normal, which suggests it may indeed be typical for your species. Inspector Zaraman completed her examination and called Marcus and Sarah back to the cargo bay.
Mr. Chen, I'm prepared to issue my preliminary findings.
The crowd pressed closer, sensing that something significant was about to happen. News crews positioned their equipment for optimal coverage while researchers activated recording devices. Based on my investigation, I find that the cargo restraint failure was caused by a manufacturing defect in the gravity compensation system, not by operator error or negligence. However, your response to the emergency raises significant questions. Marcus felt a knot forming in his stomach.
What kind of questions?
Mr. Chen, your attempt to manually redirect falling cargo violated several safety protocols.
Under normal circumstances, this would result in a safety violation citation and mandatory retraining.
Sarah stepped forward.
Inspector, he saved my life. How can that be a violation?
Because proper emergency protocol would have been to activate the emergency force fields and evacuation procedures. Marcus shook his head. The force fields were damaged in the gravity storm.
Evacuation procedures would have taken too long. Sarah would have been killed. Nevertheless, you exceeded your authority and endangered yourself unnecessarily.
The crowd murmured with obvious displeasure at the inspector's words. Several aliens called out protests in various languages, while others began recording with greater intensity. Dr. Zarayath stepped forward.
Inspector Zaraman, if I may interject, Mr.
Chen's actions demonstrate exactly the kind of innovative problem-solving that has made humans valuable partners in the galactic community.
Inspector Zaraman's skin shifted to a deeper blue, indicating frustration.
Dr. Zarayath, safety protocols exist for good reasons.
Personal heroics, however, well-intentioned, can create dangerous precedents.
A new voice joined the conversation.
Inspector, I would like to review your findings.
Everyone turned to see Captain Reltar of the Galactic Medical Corps approaching. The veteran military surgeon moved with obvious authority, and his presence immediately changed the dynamic of the situation. Captain Reltar, Inspector Zaraman said, her skin tone shifting to a more respectful purple.
This is a civilian investigation.
One that has implications for military personnel under my command. If Mr. Chen's actions are classified as violations, it could affect how human military personnel are evaluated in emergency situations. Marcus watched the exchange with growing unease. What had started as a simple cargo accident was becoming a complex political situation involving multiple galactic organizations. Captain Reltar examined the cargo bay and reviewed Inspector Zaraman's reports. His aide, a young Eltarian officer, took additional recordings and measurements. Mr. Chen, Captain Reltar said finally, I've reviewed the circumstances of your accident. In military terms, you demonstrated exceptional initiative and selfless service. However, I understand Inspector Zaraman's concerns about protocol violations.
Captain, I'm not military. I'm just a freight hauler. Nevertheless, your actions today will influence how humans are perceived throughout the galaxy. That gives you responsibilities whether you wanted them or not.
Sarah looked between Marcus and the officials with obvious frustration. This is ridiculous. Marcus did the right thing, and now everyone wants to turn it into some kind of political statement. Dr. Zarathus's patches pulsed with sudden inspiration. Perhaps there's a solution that addresses everyone's concerns. All attention focused on the xenobiologist. I propose that Mr. Chen's case be used to develop new emergency protocols that account for human capabilities. Rather than citing him for violations, we use his experience to improve safety procedures. Inspector Zaraman considered this proposal. Dr. Zarath, that would require extensive review and approval from multiple committees. Which could take months, Sarah added. We can't stay grounded that long. Captain Reltar stepped forward. I have a suggestion. Mr. Chen, would you be willing to participate in a series of emergency response simulations? We could test various scenarios and use the data to develop improved protocols. Marcus looked at Sarah, then back at the assembled officials. How long would this take? 3 days, maximum. The simulations could be conducted here on Centauri Station. And then, we're free to continue our cargo runs? With full clearance and no citations, Inspector Zaraman confirmed. Marcus considered the proposal. 3 days wasn't ideal, but it was better than months of bureaucratic reviews. What kind of simulations? Dr. Zarath answered eagerly. Emergency scenarios designed to test human decision-making under stress. We would monitor your physiological and psychological responses to develop better understanding of human capabilities. No invasive procedures, Marcus said firmly. And I want Sarah involved in any decisions about the testing. Captain Reltar nodded. Agreed. Ms. Martinez will be included in all briefings and can observe all procedures. Inspector Zaraman made notes on her tablet. Mr. Chen, if you agree to participate in this research, I'll issue a provisional clearance for your vessel. The final clearance will be contingent on completion of the studies. The crowd of observers had grown even larger during the negotiations, and Marcus could see news crews broadcasting live coverage of the proceedings. What had started as a private matter was now being watched by potentially millions of beings across the sector. All right, Marcus said finally. I'll do the simulations. A cheer went up from the crowd, with various aliens expressing approval in their native languages. Marcus felt overwhelmed by the attention and the realization that his simple act of protecting a friend had created this complex situation. Dr. Zarath approached with obvious excitement. Mr. Chen, this research could benefit not only humans but all species. Understanding how different beings respond to emergency situations could save countless lives. Doctor, I hope you're right, because this is a lot more than I bargained for. Sarah took Marcus aside as the officials began making arrangements. Are you sure about this? We could find a way to fight the citation. Sarah, if this research helps other people avoid situations like what happened today, it's worth a few days of tests. You always want to help everyone else. Someone has to. As the crowd began to disperse, Marcus realized that his life had changed fundamentally. The simple freight hauler who had walked into an alien hospital with 17 fractures was now committed to participating in galactic research that could influence emergency protocols for all species. Captain Reltar approached as the officials finished their discussions. Mr. Chen, I want you to know that your actions today represent the best of what humans can offer the galactic community. Whatever the research reveals, you've already proven that humanity belongs among the stars. Marcus looked around at the docking bay, at his ship, and at Sarah. Everything looked the same, but he knew that nothing would ever be quite the same again. Captain, I just hope I don't disappoint anyone. Mr. Chen, after what I've seen today, I don't think that's possible. As the sun set over Centauri Station, Marcus prepared for whatever would come next.
He had entered an alien hospital with 17 fractures and his pride intact.
Now he was about to become part of something much larger than himself, whether he wanted it or not. The human who had refused to let pain control him was about to discover what other limits he might be able to overcome. The Galactic Emergency Response Research Facility occupied an entire level of Centauri Station. Marcus had never imagined such a place existed until Dr. Zaraeth led him through its corridors the following morning. The facility contained sophisticated simulation chambers, medical monitoring equipment, and observation areas where researchers could study emergency response behaviors in controlled conditions.
Mr. Chen, Dr. Zaraeth explained as they walked, the scenarios we'll test are based on real emergency situations encountered by various species throughout the galaxy.
We want to understand how human psychology and physiology respond compared to other beings. Marcus wore a specially designed monitoring suit that tracked everything from his heart rate to his neural activity. Sarah walked beside him, equally impressed and concerned by the elaborate setup. "This seems like overkill for a few simple tests," she said. Dr. Zaraeth's bioluminescent patches flashed with enthusiasm. "Ms. Martinez, what your partner did yesterday challenges fundamental assumptions about stress response and decision-making under extreme conditions.
These tests could revolutionize emergency protocols across dozens of species."
They entered the main observation chamber, where a team of researchers from various species waited. Marcus recognized Captain Reltar and Inspector Zaraman among the group, along with several beings he hadn't met before. A tall, ethereal being with translucent skin approached them.
"Mr. Chen, I am Dr. Lyra NIS from the Psychological Research Institute.
I'll be monitoring your cognitive responses during the simulations."
"What exactly will these simulations involve?" Marcus asked.
Dr. Lyra NIS gestured toward a bank of monitors showing various chamber configurations.
"We've designed 5 scenarios of increasing complexity.
Each tests different aspects of emergency response, immediate physical danger, complex problem solving under pressure, resource management in crisis situations, decision-making when others are at risk, and leadership during catastrophic events."
Sarah looked at the monitors with concern.
"These look dangerous."
Captain Reltar stepped forward.
"Ms. Martinez, I assure you that all safety protocols are in place. The simulations use advanced holographic technology and controlled environmental systems."
"Mr. Chen will never be in actual danger."
"But the scenarios will feel real," Dr. Zaraeth added.
"That's essential for accurate psychological response measurement."
Marcus studied the chamber layouts, noting the complex machinery and sensor arrays.
"How long will each simulation take?"
"Between 30 minutes and 2 hours, depending on how quickly you resolve each situation," Dr. Lyra NIS replied.
"We expect the full battery of tests to take 3 days as promised." A young mantoid researcher approached with additional monitoring equipment.
"Mr. Chen, these sensors will track your stress hormone levels, muscle tension, and cognitive processing speed. The data will help us understand the physiological basis for human resilience." As the research team made final preparations, Marcus noticed a group of observers gathering in an elevated viewing area. Word of the tests had spread, and representatives from various organizations had come to witness what many were calling the most comprehensive study of human emergency response ever conducted.
"All right," Marcus said finally. "Let's get this started." The first simulation chamber was configured to resemble the cargo bay of a spacecraft.
As Marcus entered, the environment shifted to show him alone in a damaged vessel with failing life support systems and limited resources.
"Scenario 1, Dr. Lyra NIS announced over the communication system. Single-person survival situation.
You have 18 minutes of oxygen remaining, emergency communications are offline, and rescue is approximately 30 minutes away.
Begin."
Marcus immediately began assessing his situation. The simulation was remarkably realistic, with authentic sounds, environmental conditions, and even the smell of damaged electronics. He quickly located the emergency supplies and began implementing standard survival protocols. In the observation chamber, the research team watched with fascination as Marcus's vital signs remained remarkably stable despite the simulated life-threatening situation. Most species showed significant stress responses within the first few minutes of similar scenarios. His heart rate increased initially, but it's already returning to normal levels, one researcher noted.
This is consistent with yesterday's medical procedures.
Marcus worked methodically through the survival checklist, rationing oxygen, repairing critical systems, and setting up emergency signals. When he encountered problems that weren't covered by standard procedures, he improvised solutions using available materials.
Fascinating, Dr. Lyra Nas observed.
He's not following the prescribed emergency protocols exactly, but his adaptations are more efficient than the standard procedures. 28 minutes later, Marcus had successfully extended his life support, repaired communication systems, and established contact with rescue vessels. The simulation ended with his successful evacuation. "Excellent work," Captain Reltar announced as Marcus exited the chamber. "Your survival rate was 96%, well above average for this scenario." "It felt pretty straightforward," Marcus replied, removing some of the monitoring equipment.
What's next? The second simulation was significantly more complex.
Marcus found himself in a damaged space station with multiple system failures and a mixed crew of different species, each with unique physiological requirements.
Scenario 2, Dr. Zaraeth announced. Multi-species emergency management. You are the senior officer on duty when a meteor strike damages critical systems.
You must coordinate repairs while managing the needs of 7 crew members from 5 different species. This simulation pushed Marcus's problem-solving abilities to their limits. He had to balance competing priorities while dealing with beings who had different environmental needs, communication styles, and stress responses.
The Altarian crew member required specific atmospheric conditions, while the Mantoid engineer couldn't work in the same temperature range as the Centauri technicians.
The observers watched as Marcus quickly established a command structure, delegating tasks based on each species' capabilities while maintaining clear communication across language barriers. His stress levels remained remarkably low even as the simulated crisis intensified. He's treating each species member as individuals rather than applying general species stereotypes, Dr. Lyra Nas noted. This suggests sophisticated understanding of cultural and physiological diversity. Marcus completed the scenario by successfully coordinating repairs and evacuating all crew members to safety.
His performance metrics exceeded expectations in every category.
The third simulation tested resource management during extended crisis situations. Marcus was placed in command of a damaged colony ship with limited supplies and no immediate prospect of rescue.
Scenario 3, Inspector Zaraman announced.
Long-term crisis leadership. Your colony ship has suffered catastrophic damage. You have 300 beings from 12 species, sufficient supplies for 2 weeks, and no functional long-range communication.
Projected rescue time is 6 weeks.
This scenario required Marcus to make difficult decisions about resource allocation while maintaining morale among diverse populations. He implemented rationing protocols, organized work crews for repairs, and established emergency procedures that accounted for the different needs of each species. The observers were particularly impressed by Marcus's approach to morale management. Instead of simply issuing orders, he involved representatives from each species in decision-making processes and found ways to maintain hope without making unrealistic promises. His leadership style is notably collaborative, Captain Reltar observed. Most humans we've studied in command situations adopt more authoritarian approaches under extreme stress. Marcus successfully managed the simulated crisis for the full 6-week period, maintaining adequate nutrition for all species while completing necessary repairs and establishing rescue protocols. The colony ship scenario ended with successful contact with rescue vessels.
The fourth simulation was the most psychologically challenging yet.
Marcus found himself in a situation where he had to choose between saving different groups of beings, with no possibility of rescuing everyone.
Scenario 4, Dr. Zaraeth announced quietly. Impossible choices.
You are responding to a disaster where you can save either a group of 20 adult researchers or a group of 15 colonist families with children. Resources and time constraints make it impossible to save both groups. This scenario was designed to test moral decision-making under extreme pressure.
Most species showed significant psychological breakdown when faced with such impossible choices.
Marcus stood in the simulation for several long minutes, his vital signs showing the first significant stress response the researchers had recorded. His breathing deepened and his heart rate increased as he processed the scenario. But, instead of choosing between the groups, Marcus began analyzing the situation more carefully. He studied the environmental conditions, available resources, and time constraints.
Then, he began implementing an innovative solution that the scenario designers hadn't anticipated. "He's refusing to accept the scenario parameters," Dr. Lyra NIS announced with excitement.
"He's attempting to modify the situation to save both groups." Marcus worked frantically to establish alternative evacuation routes, redistribute resources, and coordinate with both groups simultaneously. The simulation's artificial intelligence adapted to his efforts, creating new challenges and obstacles. For 3 hours, Marcus fought to save everyone. He succeeded in evacuating 31 of the 35 beings, significantly exceeding the expected parameters of the scenario. "Remarkable," Captain Reltar said as Marcus exited the simulation chamber. "In 50 years of running that scenario, no one has ever achieved a survival rate above 60%.
Marcus looked exhausted but satisfied. Someone had to try. The final simulation was scheduled for the next day.
As Marcus and Sarah returned to their ship that evening, word of his performance had spread throughout the station. Crowds gathered whenever he appeared in public, and news organizations provided continuous coverage of the research.
"Marcus," Sarah said as they settled into the ship's common area, "do you realize what you've done today? I completed some simulations. You've proven that humans can handle emergency situations better than anyone thought possible. Do you understand what that means?"
Marcus was quiet for a moment.
"It means more attention and more expectations. It means respect, Marcus. Real respect from the galactic community."
Their conversation was interrupted by a communication from Dr. Zara F.
"Mr. Chen, I wanted to inform you that preliminary results from today's simulations are being shared with emergency response organizations throughout the sector. Your performance has exceeded all expectations. What does that mean for tomorrow's test? Tomorrow's scenario is the most complex we've ever designed.
It will test every aspect of emergency response and leadership under conditions that have defeated every previous test subject." After the communication ended, Marcus looked out at the stars through the ship's observation window. Somewhere out there, his actions were being studied and analyzed by beings he would never meet. The simple cargo hauler who had protected his co-pilot was becoming something larger than himself.
"Sarah, whatever happens tomorrow, I want you to know that this all started because I couldn't stand the thought of losing you." "I know, Marcus. And that's exactly why you're going to succeed tomorrow too."
As Marcus prepared for sleep, he wondered what the final simulation would bring. He had faced survival scenarios, leadership challenges, and impossible moral choices.
What could be more challenging than what he had already overcome?
The answer would come with tomorrow's test, a scenario designed to push human capabilities beyond anything previously imagined. The human who had entered an alien hospital with 17 fractures was about to face his greatest challenge yet. The final day of testing drew observers from across the sector. The viewing galleries of the Galactic Emergency Response Research Facility were filled with representatives from military organizations, research institutions, and diplomatic corps. Marcus had become more than a test subject, he was a symbol of human potential that many species were eager to understand. Dr. Zara F. met Marcus and Sarah in the preparation area, her bioluminescent patches pulsing with nervous energy.
"Mr. Chen, today's scenario is unlike anything we've ever attempted. It combines elements from all previous tests while adding layers of complexity that have never been successfully navigated."
Marcus suited up in the advanced monitoring equipment, now familiar with the sensation of sensors tracking his every physiological response.
"What exactly am I facing today?"
Dr. Lyra NIS approached with her psychological monitoring devices. The scenario is called cascade failure. It simulates a multi-system catastrophe where every solution creates new problems, and traditional emergency protocols are insufficient or counterproductive. Captain Reltar joined the briefing, his expression unusually grave.
Mr. Chen, I must inform you that this scenario has been attempted by emergency response specialists from 37 different species.
None have achieved a success rating above 15%.
What constitutes success in this scenario? Survival of at least 60% of the affected population, Inspector Zaramin replied.
Most test subjects achieve between 5 and 10% survival rates before the simulation becomes unmanageable.
Sarah looked at the assembled research team with concern. Are you sure this is safe?
The other tests were challenging enough.
Dr. Zarareth nodded reassuringly. Ms. Martinez, all safety protocols remain in place.
However, I must warn you that this scenario is designed to test the absolute limits of decision-making capability under extreme stress. Marcus studied the main simulation chamber, which had been configured as a massive space station with multiple interconnected sections.
Through the viewing windows, he could see complex holographic displays showing various crisis indicators. How long do I have to complete this scenario? There is no time limit, Dr. Lyra Nis replied. The scenario continues until either successful resolution or complete failure.
Previous attempts have lasted between 6 and 14 hours. A new voice joined the conversation.
Mr. Chen, if I may add some context.
Everyone turned to see Admiral Kethvar, a distinguished vegan officer whose presence immediately commanded attention. Marcus hadn't expected such high-ranking military involvement in what had started as a simple cargo accident investigation.
Admiral, Captain Reltar said with obvious respect. I didn't expect you to observe personally.
Captain, this human's performance over the past 2 days has generated significant interest at the highest levels of galactic military command. If his capabilities are as exceptional as reported, it could influence strategic planning across multiple sectors. Marcus felt the weight of expectations settling on his shoulders.
Admiral, I'm just a freight hauler. I'm not sure I'm the right person to influence military strategy. Admiral Kethvar's silver skin shifted to a respectful blue tone.
Mr. Chen, leadership and courage are not determined by titles or positions. Your actions demonstrate qualities that are essential for command at any level.
The research team made final preparations while Marcus centered himself mentally.
The attention from high-ranking officials, the media coverage, and the expectations of the scientific community created pressure unlike anything he had experienced.
Marcus, Sarah said quietly, remember that you're doing this to help people. Don't let the politics and expectations distract you from that. Thanks, Sarah. I needed to hear that.
Dr. Zareth activated the simulation systems.
Mr. Chen, are you ready to begin?
Marcus entered the simulation chamber, and the environment immediately transformed into the command center of a massive space station. Alarms blared from multiple systems, and holographic displays showed cascading failures throughout the facility.
Scenario 5, Cascade Failure, Dr. Zareth announced.
You are the emergency coordinator for Kepler Station, a research facility housing 12,000 beings from 43 species. A solar flare has damaged primary systems, triggering a cascade of failures. Life support is failing in multiple sectors, the reactor is approaching critical overload, and evacuation systems are offline.
Begin.
Marcus quickly assessed the situation. The scope of the crisis was staggering. Unlike previous scenarios with clear priorities, this situation presented multiple critical failures that all required immediate attention.
Solving any single problem seemed to create complications for others.
He began by establishing communication with various department heads throughout the station. Each contact revealed additional complications. The Altarian research team required specialized atmospheric conditions that the damaged life support systems couldn't provide, the Mantoid engineering crew couldn't access critical repair areas due to environmental hazards, and the evacuation bays were blocked by debris from the solar flare damage. In the observation area, researchers watched Marcus's vital signs with fascination. His stress levels remained remarkably low despite the overwhelming complexity of the scenario. He's not showing the typical panic response, Dr. Lyra Nis observed. Most subjects become overwhelmed by the sheer number of critical decisions required. Marcus implemented a triage system, categorizing problems by immediate threat to life, long-term survival requirements, and potential for cascading effects. Rather than attempting to solve everything simultaneously, he began addressing issues in strategic sequences that would create positive feedback loops. His first major decision was controversial. He ordered the deliberate venting of atmosphere from 3 damaged sectors to prevent contamination spread, even though this meant temporarily abandoning those areas. This decision freed up life support resources for critical areas while buying time to implement repairs.
Fascinating, Admiral Kethvar commented.
He's making strategic sacrifices to achieve tactical advantages.
This demonstrates sophisticated military thinking.
As the simulation progressed, Marcus coordinated repair teams, managed resource allocation, and maintained communication across species with vastly different physiological and psychological needs.
When traditional protocols failed, he improvised solutions that combined techniques from multiple species' emergency procedures.
4 hours into the simulation, Marcus faced the scenario's most challenging decision point. The reactor could be stabilized by manually shutting down cooling systems in the research sectors, but this would kill approximately 800 researchers while saving the remaining 11,000 station inhabitants.
Unlike the previous moral choice scenario, this wasn't designed to test ethical decision-making. The reactor failure would kill everyone if not addressed immediately. Most test subjects chose to sacrifice the research sectors to save the majority.
Marcus refused to accept these parameters. Instead, he began implementing an extremely risky alternative, using the station's experimental gravitational generators to create localized gravity fields that could contain the reactor's energy output while maintaining cooling systems throughout the station. He's attempting to use experimental technology that has never been tested under emergency conditions, Captain Reltar observed with concern. The simulation's artificial intelligence adapted to Marcus's strategy, creating new complications and technical challenges. For 2 hours, Marcus worked to coordinate multiple engineering teams in implementing his unconventional solution while managing the continuing cascade of system failures.
His problem-solving approach is completely outside established parameters, Dr. Zaraeth noted with excitement.
He's combining technologies and procedures that were never designed to work together.
Marcus's gamble succeeded.
The gravitational containment field stabilized the reactor while preserving life support throughout the station. But the simulation wasn't finished. New challenges emerged. The gravitational field was affecting nearby ships attempting to provide assistance, and the modified systems were consuming power at unsustainable rates. 8 hours into the scenario, Marcus had achieved what no previous test subject had accomplished. He had stabilized all critical systems and maintained life support for the entire station population. But maintaining this success required constant monitoring and adjustment of systems that were operating far outside their design specifications. In the observation area, representatives from dozens of organizations watched in amazement as Marcus continued to manage the complex crisis. His stress levels remained manageable, his decision-making stayed sharp, and his communication with various species remained clear and effective.
"This is unprecedented," Admiral Kethvar said quietly.
The strategic thinking, the technical innovation, and the psychological resilience are far beyond anything in our databases for any species. As the simulation entered its 10th hour, the researchers began to realize that Marcus might actually achieve complete success. No test subject had ever managed the scenario for more than 6 hours before system failures became unmanageable. Marcus continued coordinating repairs, optimizing resource distribution, and maintaining the delicate balance of modified systems. When new crises emerged, he adapted his strategies without losing focus on the overall situation. 12 hours after the scenario began, Marcus achieved something that the research team had considered impossible: complete stabilization of all station systems, successful coordination of rescue operations, and 100% survival rate for all station inhabitants. "Scenario complete," Dr. Zaraeth announced, her voice filled with awe.
"All objectives achieved. Success rating 100%. Marcus exited the simulation chamber to find the entire observation area in stunned silence.
Researchers, military officers, and dignitaries stared at him with expressions ranging from amazement to disbelief.
Admiral Kethvar was the first to speak. Mr. Chen, what you accomplished today has never been achieved by any being in the history of emergency response testing. You have demonstrated capabilities that exceed our understanding of what is possible.
Marcus looked around at the assembled beings, feeling overwhelmed by the attention and implications of what had happened.
I just did what needed to be done. Dr. Lyra Nis approached with her data tablets.
Mr. Chen, your psychological and physiological responses throughout all 5 scenarios have revolutionized our understanding of human stress tolerance and problem-solving capabilities.
This research will influence emergency protocols throughout the galaxy. Captain Reltar stepped forward. Mr. Chen, on behalf of the Galactic Medical Corps, I want to thank you for your service to the scientific community. Your contributions will save countless lives.
Inspector Zaraman approached with official documents. Mr. Chen, your vessel is cleared for immediate departure with full commendations. Additionally, the Galactic Freight Authority is recommending you for the Cross-Species Service Award. Sarah pushed through the crowd to reach Marcus, tears streaming down her face. I'm so proud of you, she said, embracing him despite the monitoring equipment he still wore. As the celebration continued around him, Marcus realized that his life had fundamentally changed. The human who had entered an alien hospital with 17 fractures and refused to compromise his dignity had become something larger, a symbol of human potential and a bridge between species. Dr. Zarath approached as the crowd began to disperse. Mr. Chen, I want you to know that your performance has opened new fields of research. We're already developing training programs based on your approaches to emergency management. Doctor, I hope this helps people. It will, Mr. Chen. It absolutely will. As Marcus and Sarah prepared to leave the research facility, Admiral Kefar approached them one final time. Mr. Chen, I want to extend an offer. The Galactic Defense Force could use someone with your capabilities. We would be honored to have you serve in any capacity you choose. Marcus looked at Sarah, then back at the Admiral. Thank you, Admiral, but I'm a freight hauler. That's what I do, and it's what I want to keep doing. Admiral Kefar's skin shifted to a respectful blue. I understand, Mr. Chen. But know that the galaxy is a safer place because of what you've done here. As they walked through the corridors of Centauri Station toward their ship, Marcus and Sarah were followed by news crews and well-wishers from dozens of species. The simple act of protecting a friend had led to 3 days that would be remembered throughout galactic history. Marcus, Sarah said as they reached the Aurora's Dream, you realize that everything is different now, right? I know. But some things don't change. Like what? Marcus looked at their ship, then at Sarah. We still have a cargo run to complete. Sarah laughed despite her tears. Of course we do. As they prepared the Aurora's Dream for departure, Marcus reflected on the past 3 days. He had entered an alien hospital with 17 fractures and his pride intact. He was leaving as something he had never intended to become, a symbol of human resilience and potential. But, at his core, he was still the same person who had pushed Sarah out of the way of falling cargo. He was still someone who believed that the right thing to do was worth doing, regardless of the personal cost. The human who had refused to let 17 fractures break his spirit had proven that sometimes the greatest strength comes not from what you can endure, but from what you refuse to accept. His pride hadn't wavered in the hospital, and it wouldn't waver as he faced whatever challenges lay ahead. As the Aurora's Dream departed Centauri Station, Marcus Chen remained what he had always been, a decent person trying to do his job and take care of the people he cared about. The fact that this simple philosophy had captivated an entire galaxy was just another challenge to overcome. The stars stretched out before them, filled with infinite possibilities and new adventures. And, somewhere among those stars, other beings would face their own moments of crisis, inspired by the memory of a human who entered an alien hospital with 17 fractures and refused to let his pride waver.